Good morning. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee and Chat with Hallee Bridgeman. I'm so happy you could join me this morning. I get to show off my new shirt to you today. My friend Brandy made this for me. It says, "Coffee is my spirit animal." Isn't that fantastic? I love it so much. So I hope you have your cup of coffee with you, or your cup of tea, or whatever you drink in the morning, and you have a few minutes to sit back and chat about my books. And so today's question is, where do you get your ideas? What inspires your ideas? And that question, I really had to think about it. So the first book I ever wrote was A Melody for James. And what inspired that book was a dream. And so I had never written anything before. I woke up from a dream and I went to my computer and I started typing, and 6 weeks later, I had A Melody for James. And then a couple months later, I had an aria for Nick. And then a couple months after that, I had a carol for Kent. And honestly, I have no idea where those books came from. I have no recollection of an aha moment when I was like coming up with the plot. It's like they were always there or something. And so I've said before that everywhere I went after I finished A Melody for James and had started an aria for Nick, I suddenly had like book ideas and book ideas and book ideas. The upcoming Dixon Brothers book, when I originally named them the Rinkoff Brothers, but I didn't want to do another ethnic family. This time I wanted to do a Southern family, and so I've since changed the name to Dixon. However, when it was Rinkoff, what happened was I was looking through the phone book looking for some inspiration for a new book series, and saw the word Rinkoff and said, triplet brothers with this kind of background, and this is what they do for a living, and here are their love interests, and it came that quickly. One day my husband Greg said to me, "I wish that you could come up with a series about the heavenly virtues, like faith, grace, hope." And as he said that, it was like the Virtues and Valor series was in my head, and it was in my head like the whole story got laid out, and I couldn't write it fast enough. You know, it was just unbelievably amazing how that happened. The Jewel series, though, was more, I knew I wanted to write a series about three sisters where the oldest one was having to work two jobs to support her two younger sisters. But that was honestly all I really knew until I started writing it. And as I wrote Sapphire Ice and Robin's character came into me, then suddenly I had the rest of the story. And then as I got to know Maxine, and her story started to unfold for me. And so that one was more character driven as writing it. My mom used to work for a department store, and she was checking out some women one time and was listening to them have a conversation while they were standing in line. And they were talking about a man who had given up everything, signed everything put in front of him, didn't matter to him as long as in the end of this divorce, he could have custody of his son. And that spurred the idea for a book I've not published yet called Burn. And what's strange about that one is that the other night at dinner with some friends, he was telling us some story about a fireman, and it was like he was telling me the plot of my book Burn, and I promise I have written it. It wasn't like inspired by him talking to me at all. I was like, that's crazy. I wrote that book. Talking about, real life being stranger than fiction. The cookbook series started when Greg said one day driving in the car, "Could you come up with 50 gravy recipes?" And that began this parody cookbook series. And so after I wrote 50 Shades of Gravy, it just made sense for whatever reason that The Walking Bread would of course be the next book. And then Iron Skillet Man. And coming up very soon is Hallie Crockpotter. And then after that one, I think that what I'm going to do is Magic Milk. And so, which will be, recipes made from yogurt or cheese or milk. And so, and we're constantly, now that we have this idea in our mind of come up with these cookbooks, we're constantly spitballing ideas with each other about what would be the next cookbook I would write. Because I tend to, basically what I do is I finish a series and then I do a cookbook, kind of like to cleanse my fiction palette just before I start a new series. So I guess really the answer to the question is a lot of it is character driven, but a lot of it just kind of comes to me. And so I don't know, I'm the type of person, the type of writer that sits in a crowd of people, and I am completely content not to have anyone interact with me and just people watch. And I pay close attention to facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, all of this stuff works together, and I kind of like watch the interactions and then build stories in my mind about these people. And so I think honestly, most of it comes from that. So, I think before I was a writer, I just took in a crowd of people as a crowd of people. And then once I became a writer, a crowd of people was filled with individual peoples. And every one of those individual people have a story. And what is their story? And what's making that woman talk to this man with such an aggressive movements and anger in her voice, and what's making that man shift away when the woman goes to put her hand on his back or whatever. Those kind of things are the kind of things that I think about when I'm sitting quietly in a corner of a crowd of people watching. And so I think that, or when I go into a situation and I think to myself, this would be the perfect place for a mass murder, or that location would be right where a sniper would need to be, or I read this news article about this country and this military operation would really, work well in this location. And so it's like there's this always constant people, news, circumstances, layout of, landscape. All of it constantly has these ideas pouring into me. And over the course of 20 years of accepting it and filtering it, I've learned to kind of mentally store it. And I think what happens is when I'm ready to start a new series and I look at a word like Rinkoff, suddenly, okay, I've had that one marinating in the back of my mind for a while, and now it's time to pull this story forward. And so much of the ideas part has already been done that in a subconscious manner I'm not even aware of. So thank you for your question. That was really fun unpacking. So if you have a question for me, go to my website, and on the sidebar you'll see a cup of coffee, and just click that and it will take you to the Google form, and you can ask me any question you want about me or my writing or my characters. And I hope that you have an amazing Monday. And if any of you want a shirt that is as awesome as mine, let me know and I will connect you with my friend Brandy. God bless you and have a great day.